Okay, this is the FTG podcast, episode number 3. 3. Ooh.
It's already been 3.
It has been 3, yeah.
Look at that.
But my name is Anthony Schultz.
Oh, I'm John McConnell.
What?
I think that's my name.
Pull your license, look at it.
Right.
Just to double check.
Well, I mean,
I was born then.
holy crap, I'm old.
That's my address? Fuck. I've been giving that out wrong for ages.
My address is...
But yeah, it is the 3rd episode, and I saved the other ones, and I've just been parsing them out as I edit them. So we have people who listen.
Don't mind me. I'm just eating my rice with my fingers.
Nothing wrong with that. Delicious dinner made by Ariel.
I love rice.
I do too. Yeah, we incorporate it into a lot of dishes. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who maybe haven't listened to Rage Quit, Ariel's my wife, my co-host for that podcast. So she made a delicious dinner this evening, a rice bowl. So
I'm just some random dude who wanders into the house. They feed me.
They know who you are. You're in all the promotional stuff. Your information is.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, your phone number, your address, your social, it's all there. Yeah, the name of all your pets, your girlfriend, everything. It's all there. Full names, everything.
I better go off the grid.
You gotta burn it.
Just so you guys all know, that's all a lie. My name is...
Juan Cabrillo.
I like that. There we go. Juan
It's a character from a book.
Yeah, right. Juan Sanchez.
Now, you're always mentioned for, like, FGG and then occasionally, like, streaming-wise for ASInquisitor, so... Usually, it's just your name, and then...
Hey,
burn.
I'm not worried about it. My greatness needs to be spread.
Exactly. Oh, and I don't have an intro or, like, an advert yet in the beginning of this podcast, but everything that ASInquisitor does, including the FGG podcast, is sponsored by AFK Clothing Co. They sell gaming apparel, so you can head on over to afkclothingco.com. And if you throw in ASI into the promo code box, you get 10% off. So I'm actually wearing one of their t-shirts now.
Yeah, it looks slick.
Yeah, he's got some new products coming out. So.
And
he was on an old podcast, too.
In case you're wondering, it's green and white. It says AFK, clothing company. Looks good.
I think in...
The lettering's really cool. I actually like the lettering of AFK.
You know what? I dig baseball, like, tees and stuff. A lot of my band t-shirts, I notice, are that. For like a Seven Dust one, a Papa Roach one, that's like the same cut. So.
That's always been your style too.
Yeah, I just really like them. So, which is funny because I've never played baseball. I'm not huge into baseball. I really don't care. I mean, we loosely talk about MLB the Show, but otherwise.
Well, how many people wear baseball caps that don't play baseball?
Yeah, true enough. Yeah, fair.
You know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it's just more of its own like.
This area, you get people wear cowboy hats, and most of them don't even get out of their house anymore.
Yeah, or drive
in the middle of the city.
Big trucks and stuff who live in the middle of the city, and they're always closed, and they're like pristine. Like they never haul anything, they never move anything. They don't have property up north, and they're like hauling fertilizer or something. That never happens.
Oh yeah,
just a pristine, like new 2010 something, truck that has never been used except for driving back and forth to work.
So don't forget the dents from hitting things because a lot of them don't even know how to drive.
Oh yeah, and they're gigantic.
God, they are.
Yeah,
I see them park. And they park in like several spots, not because the truck is big, and sometimes I don't even think it's because they're necessarily being assholes. I just think they just suck at driving.
Hey, oh yeah, it's just this weird status thing here, and I don't know why, and I don't know what the status is indicative of, but it totally is.
Well, when we had our big snow, 2 or 3 years ago now,
something like that, yeah, because they were out of the old apartment.
Yeah,
I had to dig out the yellow.
And that was when I was in the other apartment. We had the big snow Target, right there across the street, and I think it was like 2 feet of snow. I was driving to Scion in that.
Oh, okay. TC, yeah, on the South Hill,
little bubble car, and I drive into the Target parking lot, and I park, and I get out of the car, and this guy in his SUV pulls up, saying, "You're gonna get stuck in that thing." Yeah, I'm just like.
Whatever, yeah. This is the car I have. I don't care.
Exactly. So I go in, I come back out. He put his truck up on one of the snow berms. He got himself stuck.
That's amazing.
And so I drove by. I rolled down my window. I was like, "Hey, you want me to tow you out?" God, I got the death glare from him.
He started it. There was
no
no reason for him to say anything, but he chose to. So It's like, yeah, it's karma, unfortunately.
And
you were addicted to a stranger for no reason.
And the cherry on top was, he's sitting there in his like tank top shirt with everything just hanging out, and he's like this, freezing.
It's winter time, yeah.
Dumbass in his shorts and tank top. He should.
Which is another weird like Spokane stereotype almost. Like it'd be like -10 degrees outside, and you go to a grocery store, and there's a lot of people for whatever reason, and like short sleeve shirts and shorts and flip flops. Sometimes even you're like, oh my god, it's been snowing. It's December. Like,
well, a lot of those people are actually from Alaska.
Yeah, there are a lot of of Alaskan migrants here for sure.
Yeah.
Which it makes sense. It's like Washington's the closest state to Alaska.
Right.
Where else are you going to go?
Canada.
I guess. They don't want Alaskans. Canadians don't want Alaskans.
They don't want Washingtonians.
No.
They don't want Oregonians. They don't want
Americans. Yeah. It's like, they're
Colorado.
Fine. Coloradoans. Coloradoans? Idahoans, yeah, Idahoans, Washingtonians. Everything else works just fine. The Alaskans, I guess, is different.
Oh, Washingtonians kind of weird.
Washingtonian is weird.
Washingtonians.
Yeah.
Weird.
Like how MTG, like especially in the beginning, because I've listened to the other recordings as well, and edited them and stuff, and then put them out. Always starts off like this. It's like FGG is fucking great games. It's fantastic, and it works. Our audience actually likes it, but it's just so random and like very specific, like information in the beginning, like for the first hour. It's great.
I swear we actually play games.
We do, yeah,
and not just with each other. I mean, like video games.
We do play video games every once in a while.
Play Towerfall. Game's awesome.
Towerfall is awesome. Towerfall's great. It's one of my favorite, like if not my favorite, like co-op game. I still play.
It's simple and it's fun. That's just
super arcadey, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love arcade games, or that style now. I don't really get arcade games anymore, but
I do have to say I like the music, but man, it does get annoying after a while, just like old games.
Yeah. Hey, no, good morning, guys.
For my chips.
Yeah, it can be just very repetitive, but it's definitely very chiptune inspired.
I mean, old games were repetitive.
Oh yeah,
play Mario. You're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. There's like so much you could do. So
Bubble Bobble.
Bubble, I forgot about Bubble Bobble.
Spent many an hour on Bubble Bobble, and that's just a different level layout, the same damn game over and over again.
Yeah. I remember playing a lot of Echo the Dolphin, and the music drove me crazy in that game. That game was just frustrating, so I was always stuck in the same area with the same music.
That game is frustrating. I think that's a game that we just want to love, and I think
I still do. Like, that's the thing. Like, and I played it recently. I still want to love it, but it's just so frustrating.
We all secretly hate it. Yeah, we do. Play it. We all spend a lot of time on it. The entire time, we're wanting to rip our hair out.
Yeah. And then later on, you're talking about, like, time-traveling dolphins. So there's really not even, like, narrative-wise that's just going to suck you in that makes sense. That game, it drove me crazy as a kid. And I finally beat it as an adult, like 21, first time I beat it.
How accomplished did you feel?
Fantastic. And I didn't play it for like 10 years.
You're like, finally, the torture is over.
Yeah, I did it. It was like, I went through it and played it on the Genesis. I was very happy. But
that's actually making of a good game that even though everyone hates it, they all want to play it.
Oh, yeah.
And if you like Echo the Dolphin, you're lying.
Yeah, nobody likes Echo the Dolphin.
We just all want to like it.
Yeah, that game is ridiculously hard.
Oh, hard is fine. Hard is fine. It's like that game.
Well, it's unfairly hard. I should say. Like,
the game just makes no freaking sense.
Oh, it makes absolutely no sense.
Again,
Mario makes more sense.
Yeah, Mario makes more sense. It makes more sense for a fat plumber to jump around in a world full of pipes.
Yeah, I like how I read recently there is like an in-depth, like almost genealogy to Mario, which I was like not privy to. It's like the original Mario with Donkey Kong. Like that's like Mario Brothers or like Super Mario World. That's his dad.
Right.
And it's Mario. It's like his name. And I was like, wait, I didn't know that.
It's Mario, and guess what Luigi's name is?
Luigi Mario?
Yep.
Makes sense, because their surname, I guess.
I just love tricking people with that. It's like, oh, it's Mario.
Did you say Luigi?
Yeah, Luigi. It's like, no, they're brothers. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it's a surname, which I just didn't know that. So, Luigi Mario. It's just such weird backstory in some of those games. It was like forced into it later.
Luigi's obviously John Leguizamo.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He has to be.
Of course.
Yeah, there's no other way.
He's also in a mini-series. I'm trying to think what it was called. I can't think what it's called. He plays a bank robber that used to be former military. It's the name of a movie, too. That's the funny thing. But it's not the same thing. It's like Employee of the Month. You know? Why can't I think of the name? Oh, it was really, really well done. He does really good in that.
Yeah, John Leguizamo was great.
He is a great actor. He's an underrated actor.
He is. He's a good character. He's like one of the probably best character actors.
His co-star in that is I'm drawing a blank here now. Why can't I? It was why can't I think of the name? You know when the other guys.
Yes.
The Will Ferrell's co-star in that.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, it's the brother.
Donnie Wahlberg.
Yes, Donnie Wahlberg and John Leguizamo.
I'll have a look at. We have powers.
Yeah, there we go. But that's such a great series.
It was a TV series.
Yeah, it was a mini-series.
A mini-series. Okay.
It was like 6 or 7 hour and a half long episodes or something like that. It was really well done. I really like it, and I've seen it like 6 times.
How old is it ish?
2005 maybe.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's the Runaway 10 episodes. Here,
Yeah.
I'll have you look at this.
Yeah,
it'll stand out to you. 'Cause I don't think I've seen it. Otherwise, I would chime in. I'm pretty knowledgeable about
The Kill Point.
Okay, I did not see that. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good series. 2007.
Okay, yeah, you almost pegged it.
Yeah, almost was 2 years off. Yeah, that was I really liked it.
Yeah, John Leguizamo was great. I really like Donnie Wahlberg's another good one.
I like him better than Mark Wahlberg. Not that Mark Wahlberg's bad. Honestly, I think a lot of it just has to do with the roles that Mark Wahlberg typically has now.
Yeah,
He kind of gets shoehorned into a lot of comedy roles now.
he does now, which is interesting.
Yeah, considering he wasn't.
No, he was like the action star almost, or like the blockbuster kind of man, you know. Especially with like M. Night Shyamalan's Happening, and then even like the newest I almost said Morphers, Transformers and stuff like that.
I like Transformers.
Every time I hear John Leguizamo too, I always think of Benjamin Bratt as well. You don't see him in a lot of stuff anymore either. Like Ariel and I just watched Demolition Man again.
Okay.
And he's in that. He's one of like the cops and stuff with Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone, of course. But Benjamin Bratt, he's got a funny role in that too. I love that movie so much too. When they start talking about they put on like the oldie station, like classical music, and they're all like tunes from commercials, like for cereal and stuff, like little jingles and things. That's classical music because everything else has been like banned and outlawed. I was like, that's fantastic. I feel like that's what's going to happen to us.
I just think of Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They're doing the Android saga in there, and they talk about when Trunks comes from the future to the past, and he's in whatever ship with Bulma and Krillin. And actually, I don't think Bulma's in there. I think it's just Krillin and Gohan. Bulma calls, and a ringtone starts, and it's country music. And he's like, "What is this?" It's like, "What, country music?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, this is country?" It's like, "What, you don't have country where you're from?" It's like, "Well, we used to, but when the androids appeared, it mysteriously disappeared."
Okay.
And then it cuts later on to a scene with the androids. With the androids now, they're driving a truck and they're driving a van, and they turn on the radio and country music pops on. It's like, yeah, I forgot we're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I think I know what the first thing we're gonna do is.
Anyways, continue on.
No, I finished. That's
okay.
That was they did pretty much imply that they got rid of country music.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It is reminiscent of like that in Demolition Man where they do that, where they got rid of all the music.
That show's great. I love Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Team 4-star. They're good.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm promoting other people. Get over it.
Oh, I do all the time.
Yeah, they're popular anyways. I don't think they need my promotion.
Maybe one day they will. The tides will turn.
They'll be like, "Oh my god, this random guy on this random podcast."
Wouldn't it be great, like if they were for whatever reason, like just super into with like the pulse of everything,
right?
Any kind of rumblings about them like comes their way. Some Google styled algorithm,
right?
That only they possess.
That'd be great.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, we had to take a momentary break because my cat decided to hide underneath my Christmas tree, and the dogs were freaking out, and it was just.
And I helped the dogs freak out.
The dogs are gonna freak out regardless. I don't want a Christmas tree being dragged through the house, or it's like it's just disaster.
But see, I wanted to see that happen. That's why I was barking.
Yeah.
What, you think I was barking to make them stop?
You're communicating with them.
Yeah, I'm saying keep going.
Oh.
You will stop.
I misinterpreted.
Put that down.
I guess we'll dive into a segment. What games have you been playing? What have you been into? Anything in particular?
I've been playing the BattleTech game for PC. That game's a lot of fun.
What you talked about earlier, like you had kind of explained it to me as far as like the bigger picture there.
Yeah,
because I hadn't really heard of it.
The overall story I don't really know a whole lot about. I've never been too big to tabletop games.
Yeah.
And all the books associated with it. I played MechWarrior. I loved MechWarrior 2 and MechWarrior 3.
Mm-hmm.
I never played the first one actually. I hated one of the ones I played for Super Nintendo. That one was bad. But yeah, we don't need to get into that.
We don't discuss this.
Yeah, we don't discuss this. I don't remember what. There's 2 for the Super Nintendo. I don't remember which one it is.
Oh, okay.
But I know you have a bird's eye view of the stage. There's one that's supposedly kind of first person as well.
Interesting.
That one's pretty good. I even heard the one that I played. I heard that one was pretty good too. If you had a second player, you have one person operating the guns and one person operating the legs. I guess I don't know.
That's kind of interesting. You ever played the PS2 games Psyops?
No, I haven't.
And that's an older one, but I always loved the mechanics with that because it's like like you play co-op too, and it is more fun to play with 2 people. But one person controls the character, and then the other person controls like his like psychic powers.
Okay.
So it's like if player 1, I always controlled the powers when I played it with a friend of mine, and he controlled the character. And like player 1 can also like shoot and stuff. It's like a military-esque shooter with some like paranormal or like supernatural elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would be doing his thing, and as he was doing it, we had obviously like communicate and work together, so I could use like his powers and stuff. Otherwise, he would just die, like immediately. So it's like, and if he changed the field of vision, I could like grab something with like telekinesis or something and toss it his way. Then it would like either miss or I could pull off the move. He would die.
Right.
So, but it was like that reminded me of that. I like co-op games that function that way.
Yeah, actually, there's a bunch of them. Or I shouldn't say a bunch of them. I've played 2, really, for the Switch that operate that way. We have Mario Odyssey. One person can control Mario, and the other person can control Cappy, the hat.
That's a good example.
And then there's Astral Chain. One person control the main character, the other person can control his little monster thing that he can summon for a limited amount of time.
That's cool. I really want to play Astral Chain. I still haven't had a chance.
Yeah, that one's
I'll wait until it's a little cheaper.
Yeah, I haven't played much of it, but it's pretty good at what I've played. I just keep getting distracted by other games.
Yeah.
Like Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And that game was a lot of fun, mechanically.
And you beat that one, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I slaughtered that one. I got everything.
Nice.
On the hardest difficulty, too.
That's cool.
But it took forever. Basic enemies I would die against like 100 times.
Yeah.
But
I've heard it's very like Soulsborne-esque.
Yeah, it is.
Like in combat structure, so.
It is. It's a little quicker in the combat than the Souls games are.
Like Bloodborne, maybe.
I think it's even quicker than that, to be honest.
I
would kind of put it in between like Devil May Cry and Dark Souls.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I would probably take that then.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. It's story wise, there's not really anything to shake a stick at there. It's a very basic story. Your guy is a Jedi Padawan that's been hiding.
Okay.
Hiding for a while, and you start off, he's been a scrapper.
Okay, yeah. That's a very like basic trope, but a very Star Wars trope too.
Right.
So
At least it's not on a desert planet though.
it's true. Yeah, we're not gonna get a Luke and Ray incident.
And that whole scene when you're doing the scrapper stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is pretty prominent in the trailers. I remember that.
Yeah, and there's only one point in the game that you're doing that. It's a really good tutorial for the game because it goes through all the climbing, all the running, and
okay, so like all the kind of Uncharted parkour, stuff,
and it's really cool. And I kind of like how they do things like hide loading screens behind, like say you're going through a crack to one area of the level to the next. And a loading screen. Yeah, a loading screen is kind of like hidden behind that hole.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. It's like when they first started having loading screens like cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good like kind of innovation or step forward.
And
I remember when they started doing that, it's like, wow, this isn't loaded at all. It's like, oh no, it's not like a dozen times. Every single cutscene you watched, like it's been loading.
Exactly.
Oh shit, didn't realize.
But yeah, pretty much from there you get discovered because you try and save a person, and at least that's what it seems like the reason why you get discovered.
Yeah,
they're actually kind of vague about that. And
the
so
the call to action,
right? And then you go to on the run at that point. Your new mentor ends up saving you with a ship from a old gambler.
Okay.
And
this Han Solo-y.
Kind of. He's not a smuggler.
Oh, okay.
He's just a gambler. He has a bad gambling habit, which actually gets you in trouble at a point in the game.
That's kind of funny. That's right. Cool. I dig that.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of people complained about this. Like, I'm not sure if you played The Force Unleashed.
A little bit.
But on there, when you get your force powers, you use things like force push and whatnot, and they just blast everything. All your powers, and they're so overpowering to every enemy. Whereas in this game, stormtroopers can be a threat.
Oh, okay. So they work with the balancing a little bit,
right? Which made sense for the character that you are, because he's just a Padawan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like full-fledged, like uber powerful Jedi that's been studying for decades or something.
Right. And on top of that, he hasn't used his force powers in 5 years, because it's 5 years after Order 66.
Oh, okay. So they're kind of atrophied, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're rusty.
Exactly. He talked about
with what you did know.
Right. And there's a point in there towards the end of the game where you meet Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And, in most of these games, even if Darth Vader is overpowering your character, you usually stand a chance fighting against him. In this case, you are not even close to the same level.
That's cool.
Like, you have a short sequence where you're fighting him, you don't even have a life bar. He just shrugs everything that you throw at him.
It doesn't matter. It's Darth Vader.
Then it goes to a cutscene, and Darth Vader's like tearing the room apart, and your guy's like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah. That's awesome. I kind of like that, because it's like Darth Vader's, I was just a big baddie, and super powerful. Like, my favorite scene in Rogue One is the very end when he goes through it. It's like, you actually get to see Vader as like a wrecking ball. Yeah. Like, and very powerful and just doing his thing. And that's cool to hear that they did that in the game. Where it's like, oh, you're nothing compared to Darth Vader. Right. Like, we're not going to gamify it, make it so that you have a chance, and it's an honest boss battle. It's like, nah, this is just for cinematics and you're nothing. Like, that's cool.
And at this point, you've just been quote unquote knighted as a Jedi Knight.
Yeah.
By your master, your new master, who she's got a dark, secret and all that.
Yeah.
And the usual tropes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was just really cool. I like the fact that you're not this powerhouse. You are essentially what a normal Jedi would be.
Yeah, it's like within the lore and universe, it's like the logical stepping stones.
You start off
conclusions to what's going on.
You start off as far weaker than a Jedi, and it ends up becoming to the point where you're just a standard Jedi.
Yeah, like you finally met the bar, but you're not overpowered or crazy strong.
Exactly. You fight a couple. You might be a little above average as far as the Jedi Knight goes, because you fight a couple of the Inquisitors in the game. Yeah, and they're clearly strong in the Force and whatnot, but they seem to be, for the most part, normal just Force users. You don't see them like pulling down Star Destroyers or anything like that.
Not pulling a Vader.
Yeah, in this case, pulling a Star Killer.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, from Force Unleashed. Yeah, valid point.
Which that was, don't get me wrong, I love Force Unleashed, but there's a lot of things about your character in there, this Star Killer, that just didn't make any sense. Pulling down a Star Destroyer,
Yeah.
I get that he's in orbit. Or the Star Destroyer's like kind of in the atmosphere, and it might be once he gets that thing into the atmosphere, it might be easier to pull down.
Yeah.
Because, they were manufactured in space, not manufactured to actually land on planets.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
which is fairly common in kind of Star Wars lore. So.
Right, and I get that was a big strain on him. But we're talking about god levels of force.
Yeah, well, it kind of breaks the canon at the time for sure, and it's more gamified.
Right.
It's more we want you to be like super powerful and make it look cool and feel cool, rather than like, oh no, this actually fits in everything and it can be cool.
Right.
Just in a different way.
And I do like how Yahtzee in Zero Punctuation puts it. He's great, just left me.
Gone.
Yep, it's gone. Just watch that review. It's funny. That's actually one of my favorite reviews of his, because he doesn't just talk about the game. He actually talks about the direction that AAA games have been going.
Yeah, which is true.
Which actually brings up a different point. This game, he talks about how great it was, and not really how great it was. He's saying you came with a perfectly adequate game.
Yeah.
Which is as far as AAA games can go. And like me, for example, I absolutely love Jedi Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if I loved it, if the reason I love it is because it's actually a really great game.
Yeah.
Or if other AAA games I've been playing just haven't been very good.
Yeah, so it like exceeded a different mark.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
within yourself rather than in general. Like holistically across the board.
Exactly. Like Assassin's Creed's actually a good example of that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Odyssey.
Yeah.
I didn't like Origins, but 4 I absolutely loved. And how long ago has it been since that game's come out?
Oh man, it's been a while. Like, what are we talking about? Maybe almost 10 years?
Yeah, I mean that's.
I think that sounds.
I don't think it's quite been that long.
Oh no, I know. It came out. It would have been 2013.
Yeah, that's still quite a while
7.
ago.
What? 6 years, 7.
Yeah,
almost 7. But yeah, because it was. That was the cross-gen Assassin's Creed. Yes. I remember very distinctively buying it on the PS3, like the October it came out, and then or November, and then the PS4 launched, and I spent the $10 and upgraded, and played the rest of it on the PS4. Yeah, so it would have been 2013.
And I actually love that game. Favorite Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Unity was, Syndicate I thought was really good.
Yeah.
Story-wise, there are some areas where it fell short, but I still really liked it. I love I love the twins in there.
Yeah, the twin. I like that as well. Syndicate is one of my favorites.
Right. I love how Evie just cleans up
Jacob's mess
the entire game,
even in the DLC, which is funny.
Right.
Yeah.
She was actually a really good character, but you could see the frustration of that in that character. She was like,
which added to their sibling nature too.
Yeah.
Because that's how siblings would react to one another. It's like, I'm gonna do it because you're family and you're my brother, but this is getting fucking annoying. Like, I'm tired of cleaning up after your messes. Like,
and I like how she's like, all right, we've got to help this city, and Jacob's like, yeah, that's great and all. We should start a gang.
Yeah, that'll help.
It's like, this gang. I mean, come on, we could do all sorts of things. Like what? Make the gang larger.
Yeah, it's like gangs in New York, except London.
And I want to name it after that one checkers piece. The Rooks.
Jacob's such a dork. He was great to play as, though. I love the like Sherlock-esque boxing matches and stuff. Yeah,
right.
Boxing, that was fun.
I also really like the outfits in that game.
That's some cool ones.
But yeah, that game I thought was really well done. I mean, it kind of, both Unity and that kind of pulled back from a lot of mechanics that I liked with the ship battles.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the ship battles in 4. And Rogue is a really good game as well, alongside Unity. So
especially it's like how we're getting at the time, next gen Assassin's Creed. So I was excited about Unity, and there's a lot of promises there that, especially in the beginning, were fulfilled.
Right.
And then, they ended up changing the release date. They were initially set like a week apart or 2 weeks apart, and then they ended up releasing on the same day. it was definitely forgotten about. And that one's great too. Yeah, Rogue is amazing. I don't think as good as 4, but a worthy successor to 4. And hardly anybody played it, which is unfortunate. Probably more people have played it now with the remasters.
And it was cool playing as an assassin who turned to a Templar and seeing a darker side to the assassins that you haven't seen since the first Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it's definitely. There's only been like moments where they've shown that.
Yeah,
you know, and that was really a full-fledged title where it was like, oh, here it is. Like,
and that
was awesome.
And the story in that game linked other games together.
Oh, yeah, they did a really good job.
Like 3 is technically the sequel to Rogue.
Yep.
I mean, I guess you'd say Rogue is a prequel to that one, but
yeah, as in terms of like chronological release.
Yeah. And then it also led into Unity, the very beginning of Unity.
Yeah.
So you understand exactly what happened there.
Yeah.
As far as like your character's father dying and all that. And I have to say, Unity is not as good of a game without Rogue.
Now, there's some franchises more dominantly in film, in my opinion, that are like that. Especially with trilogies of movies, where it's like without the complete trilogy or without the pairing,
right.
Like the weak one would be really bad. But if you've like consumed all of that media, you know, like for example, in my opinion, you get like the first 3 Daniel Craig Bond movies. Mm-hmm. So you get Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and then they finished up with I can picture it. What's the name of his house? Skyfall. There we go. Jesus.
I don't think it was called Jesus.
No. Skyfall was amazing and very unique in its own right. Casino Royale was received very well, and like an awesome start for Daniel Craig. And it was a lot of people's favorite Bond movie still. Quantum of Solace, though, especially without Skyfall, like before it released, is like the weakest of those, like by far. It's very like kind of stereotypical Bond movie, not a whole lot of anything new added, or you know, even a change in like pacing, and so. But once you have Skyfall, you're like, oh, that makes sense. You just bridge the gap story-wise to Skyfall. And and if you go back and watch them, especially in order, it's like, oh, Quantum of Solace actually makes more sense. And it's a better movie because of Skyfall. Like, this way it works the other way, but it's like something else in the franchise or string of games makes that game better.
I do have to say, Daniel Craig has the most athletic interpretation of James Bond.
I like how he's kind of just like not a fuck-up per se, but like, he's rough and tumble. But it's a little bit more realistic, where it's like, he's the shit beat out of him. He doesn't always win. And it's like, that's realistic. I like that.
Well, didn't it start out isn't it when Bond starts out?
Casino Royale is the very first book, and in the beginning of that movie, he is just a section chief. And so that's his first mission as a 00. And it does run pretty parallel to the original novel.
Right.
Or like novella. It's actually a pretty good representation. The only difference being that narrative is framed by like Bond telling a story of the past.
Okay.
So it's bookended by he's like on a yacht with one of his friends in the Caribbean, and he's there with ostensibly a Bond girl. It's like his friend and his wife who own this yacht and stuff, and they're very wealthy, and he's like telling them the story of Casino Royale. So it's like he's been a 00 agent for a long time, and it's, you know, this was a long time in the past when he first became. It's just an interesting story. That's really the only thing that's changed about it from the book to film, which makes sense to edit it that way anyways.
And because of that, because it's his beginning, it makes sense that he would be a little rougher.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's also the first time in the series where they like actually directly gone from one plot to the next, or plot points from a prior Bond movie and carried forward. So, which has been pretty consistent in Daniel Craig's run of Bond movies.
So, there you go.
But that's just my example of that, because I agree. I think Rogue leads very well into Unity and makes Unity a little bit of a better game, just in the same way that Skyfall, like retroactively, made Quantum of Solace a better movie.
Right.
Or a better Bond movie.
Yeah, no, it was... I just really like Rogue.
Rogue's a good one.
4 is my favorite, but Rogue was really good. I also enjoyed 3.
All those early ones are pretty damn good.
Yeah. Origins I enjoyed. It's just, you know, as we've talked as we've talked about. Mechanically, it was a little weird, mainly with the leveling system. The battle system was something I could, get used to. So I mean, every couple of games, Assassin's Creed has switched up.
The formula.
Yeah, the formula quite a bit, and that's perfectly fine. Change is fine.
It was definitely, I think, a more drastic change between. I think the second most drastic change to the franchise would have been between 1 and 2.
I actually think the change from 4 to Unity is pretty drastic.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like they cut so much stuff off.
Well, they got rid of the quick kill mechanics.
Yeah.
They got rid of a lot of the easy combat in general.
They did.
Like that game. That game definitely had a larger emphasis on sneaking around.
Yeah.
Combat was not a very viable solution in both Unity and Syndicate.
Yeah.
It was doable.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could fight a group of guys, but you couldn't just be like, I'm going to kill this guy, and now I can instantly kill the next guy and the next guy.
Yeah, which the prior ones really were kind of built on that, especially with Ezio in particular.
Yeah.
You just go to town with counters or chain kills.
Mm-hmm. And then they added in a different kind of crafting system for your equipment. You level up your equipment.
Yeah. That one I know I played a lot of it and through it. I barely remember Arno as a character and his personality or the story.
The thing I didn't like about the story,
I feel like it's just so vivid. Like I still vividly remember Paris and how it was designed and going to you do it quite a bit, but you go to Notre Dame and stuff like that. Like I remember that, how it looked and the feeling of the city and stuff and the level design.
Right.
But I just don't remember the narrative hardly at all, or Arno's personality and character. Which even with the other ones, whether I liked him or not, I remember the character.
Right.
And I'm better apt to critique or praise. I don't know what it is about that one, but it's just a black hole. I'm just I don't know if it's just forgettable for me, and it just didn't strike a chord in any one way or the other. So I just don't remember.
I know Arno's mentor called him Piss Pot all the time.
Yeah, see, I don't remember that at all. All I remember is my wife and I shouting at the TV, Arno, as he backflipped into nothing and effectively committed suicide, and it was the exact opposite of my button presses.
I've done that shit in every Assassin's Creed game.
There's been times where I've definitely done it, in all of them as well. I feel like it was once every few minutes. I was I don't know what it was, but I had a difficult time with that one.
The story in that game, they did a lot of almost Deus Ex Machina type stuff. Mm-hmm. Arno's ability to after drinking whatever stuff, joining the assassins, he had that drink that kind of put him through a vision trip almost.
Yeah, okay, I vaguely remember that. Yeah,
and then he had
vision
the ability. Yeah, right. And then he had the ability to read people's minds when he killed them.
Yeah, I feel like that was really trying to shoehorn in the little animations that we took with Ezio and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's I feel like that there didn't even need to be an explanation.
No, they didn't need. They just.
I just thought it was just it's a private moment between them two. Right. Stuff's going on around them, of course, but as a player and for cinematography's sake, it's it's a private moment between them, and then it's this little conversation right before they die, and then they would mark them usually.
My favorite one of those moments in all the Assassin's Creed games was actually in Assassin's Creed 2 when Ezio kills that childhood bully guy or whatever.
Oh yeah.
He kills him. He's shaking his body.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when his uncle, goes up to him and is you got to respect the dead.
Yeah. And then it's and then it really switches too. And then he actually is very, it takes his uncle's advice. Kind of takes it more seriously and is respecting the dead. Requiem is I just that one. I remember any eyes of the feather, and then they mark them with their blood.
And
those are always cool moments.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. That was my favorite one of all those moments. It was raw,
Yeah.
You see this kid. He's a kid at this point. He doesn't understand anything other than his own feelings.
Yeah.
and he knows that this kid that he's hated was one of the people responsible for his family's death.
Yeah, so it's more guttural. It's more visceral.
Yeah, he's just angry. There's a lot of emotion towards this character. And the other characters, although he hates them, the other characters he ends up killing, although he doesn't, I should say he doesn't like them, he doesn't have that personal feeling towards them.
Yeah.
That's this guy.
Yeah, it's not a personal attachment. Yeah, that was a good one.
It was a really good one. I can't think of any others that are nearly as good.
I liked how they did it in Origins, and I know you've been a big fan of like a lot of the more like mystical kind of elements that they've included in the last two, especially. But I like some of the ones with Bayek where it's like there's like a larger scene after, and it's like a battle of wills almost, like whether Bayek's actually right or has actually killed this person.
Right.
And it's like, you know, he'll fight like a giant snake or something as the person's like cackling at him or like mocking him, and then Bayek has to like overcome that and then kill him in this very like surreal kind of also Vision Quest kind of like scene. And of course, you know, being the nature of the beast, you know, he does come out on top and like finish it and kill him. But I thought that was really interesting. It fit very deeply into Egyptian culture as well. So I like those ones.
It was definitely a very mystical scene, but to me, at least in my head, it was a struggle that he was having in his head. Kind of like
that's how I took it as well. That it wasn't like necessarily happening. It was just, oh, this is him processing emotions or this conflict or even maybe this actual fight or battle internally, like you said, but it's also being filtered through his cultural beliefs.
Exactly.
So it's like he's making these associations that we're just seeing it as a player. You know? Right.
It's kind of like with Altair in the first game when he was demoted, and then goes and kills the Templars. He's asking these Templars why they're doing what they're doing. And they're telling them, and to him it's like, wow, that actually sounds very reasonable. It seems like you just want to do what's best for the world. Yeah. And he has to go and commune with the leader of Assassin's Creed, or I forget everything apparently.
I can't remember his name either.
But
I haven't played that in ages. I mean, I remember that.
Yeah. And he goes and talks to him. It's like, he apparently just wants to do this. Like that, it makes sense. And why are we killing these people who just want to do good? Yeah. And he's like, the way they want to do good is not good, essentially. Yeah. And also, it foreshadows a little bit towards the ending. So, right. Spoilers, in case you haven't played this
15-year-old game. Yeah, that's fine. But I don't think we can spoil.
I'd spoil anything.
Yeah, not really. I mean,
the cake is a lie.
Oh, no.
But yeah, it's just like that, except now you're seeing that moral conundrum inside.
Yeah, it's like visually represented, which makes sense because like games often times become more stylish, or there's more they can do on the programming or animation side, the artwork side to it, just because the hardware increases. So from the first Assassin's Creed to something like Origins, that makes sense, right? Plus, maybe even writing wise, it's like that could just be a note or something like just loosely related to the storyline of that. It's like I would imagine that they had some foresight into the future, but probably not 15 years into the future. How successful of a franchise it would be, right? And so now creators are putting their like personal spins on certain things that could have just been a footnote in a script with the first one. We can visually represent this body of work.
Speaking of how long Assassin's Creed has gone on, I was watching Zero Punctuation for Assassin's Creed 4, and he's like, Assassin's Creed has just become a line graph that you're drawing down. At the end of the line graph is Ubisoft, and I'm very nervous about the stapler he's holding.
Yeah, true story.
Like he nailed it. It's like at least for me, it's like this for me. Maybe it has gone on a little too long, and maybe
what's crazy though.
Changes just.
Because with Origins, and in particular Odyssey, there's been a ton of fans who've dropped off and haven't played Assassin's Creed in years, but they've had the biggest numbers with Odyssey that they've ever had because they've drawn so many people back to it. Right. With this, reboot. And that's interesting because you and I differ in opinion greatly on Odyssey, which doesn't happen to, like, there'll be points of games we might disagree on,
Right.
or how we interpret them. Like, we had a good conversation earlier about The Last of Us,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a disagreement over whether the game was good or bad. We both thought it was good. We just interpreted the ending differently.
Well,
But with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you're like, I hate it. Like, I don't like it, you know?
Yeah,
and for me, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, I don't mind the fact that you're not really an assassin. That doesn't really bother me, because, I mean, Assassin's Creed 4, you weren't an assassin in that game until, like, the very end.
Yeah, I mean, you were, and he really didn't want to be anyways. He wanted to be a pirate.
Yeah, his interest...
He wanted to be a privateer, which is what he always said at the beginning.
His interest, you know...
Code for pirate.
His interest just did not mesh with assassins. In Odyssey, I found it really hard to care about the story. I did not care for the mechanics in the game. The combat was the same as Origins, that was fine. For a game about sneaking around, they definitely discouraged it. 'Cause, I mean, anyone who's just even just one level higher than you can't sneak attack kill them in one hit.
Yeah.
You know, or you used to be able to just like hide their body after killing them. It was a very tactical thing to do. Try and stay out of combat to go through this game. And I get it. This is, you know, you're essentially a Spartan mercenary.
You're a mercenary, yeah.
You know, and I get that. You're very much this character is very much a person who would rush into combat.
Yeah, it is very combat heavy. It does. I didn't notice until we started talking about this. Like,
it is.
Like, you're absolutely right. Like, they remove like pretty much all of the stealth. Like, I mean, you still can to a degree, but with the kind of more RPG mechanics that they have in it now, it is a lot more difficult. You know,
right?
Because there have been times too when I've been playing where I've tried to self-assassinate somebody, I just haven't realized they're, you know, one level higher than you. So the combat's fairly easy, but yeah, it doesn't kill them, and you're like, oh shit, you know. Right. And it does have dynamic leveling on top of it, so it's like they're at least the same level as you.
And then on top of that, it promotes the sandbox level of exploration.
But yeah, it is. That's one issue I've had with Origins and Odyssey. They're too big in my opinion.
Oh, that honestly doesn't bother me. I'm okay with big. I mean, it does distract from the story and everything.
There's just so much to do. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, I mean, I haven't been actually ever like dissatisfied with my exploration, especially of Odyssey. I feel like Origins world was very sparse. Like, they had all these other districts that really did not need to be there,
right?
Like, or areas, because it was like all desert, and there's one location there. That's like, but it makes the map look a lot larger. And for the Egypt setting, I'm like, okay, I can get this. And then they usually filtered in like events and stuff that were in that area. So I was like, okay, I can get that. The Odyssey is like a very full world. Like, there's a lot. Like, and there's always cities there and people, and it's very bustling.
And if anything, that would be a plus for me. The problem I have...
That part is a plus.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there's so much time to explore because it's just so huge. But I've never been, like, unhappy with me exploring in Odyssey because it is full and bustling.
Well, no, and
I like that part of it.
Exploring is fine. It's just if you are underleveled in an area...
Yeah.
Like, getting into combat, which is pretty much the main, open combat, which is the main way to get through...
Yeah.
Areas.
And obviously very focused on, because it's, it's an action RPG now.
Right. 2 levels higher than you, and the enemies are near impossible to kill. Like, I don't want to spend, 10 minutes trying to kill a very basic enemy, and then there's 6 of his buddies there.
Which is crazy, because I never really ran into that, because it's like, maybe I forced myself into a more linear movement. I just always went to... I haven't played it hard, which you and I both do for games anyways. Yeah. But I would just go to the next weakest area. And by the time I cleaned out that area and then did whatever story mission, then moved on to the next, it was like, I was fine for that area. And then I've never had an issue with going, or wanted to even, an area that's 5 levels higher.
Right.
Which is a way into funneling gameplay, but it's also for a game that's very, it seems like it beckons to be open. To do anything and be anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But the way I'm playing it is not that. I'm making it linear. So I haven't run into that issue.
That's what I'm saying. It promotes this, like I said, this sandbox level of exploration. And then
Yeah, which is true. It does.
And it slaps you in the face with like, you can't do this over here because you're just too low level. I mean,
which is true.
If you really want to spend all day killing this group of 6 soldiers, go for it. That's gonna be your game
it does seem to be. That would be tedious though on the grind. I mean, I haven't played that way, but I wouldn't want to do that. Like,
and then the war between the Persians,
like present in the story.
Yeah, in the story.
Oh, that's between the Spartans and the Athenians.
The Athenians. I think because I'm thinking of 300 probably.
Well, yeah, which does relate to the story, but it was several hundred years prior.
Which, is it just me, or does Leonidas and one captain guy look exactly the same? But...
Yeah, and I haven't finished Odyssey, and I was always wondering, because he's just always there.
Yeah.
And then he's a quest giver as well, for really weird quests later on. I think there's also a Prince of Persia tie-in, too.
That one's surprising.
Which, given the time period and everything going on, and the fact that it's Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed sprung from the ashes of Prince of Persia, it would make sense. But yeah, I wondered that, too. I was like, are you like Leonardo's like reincarnated, or like some weird ancient civilization thing that's going to fit into this story at some point? Like, you never died? Or it was like, I don't...
It's just like, well, you know what? Whatever. We'll just push that aside.
Because he does just show up, and then he's just always there.
That's just a nitpick. Like, that's a very small...
and I don't know how that plays out by the end of the story. Like, I've been exploring so much and doing, because the world is so big, I have done only, like, the first 5 chapters. That's where I'm at. Like, I can't even upgrade my spear in Odyssey anymore, because I have not done enough story.
Have you gotten to the ship combat yet?
Yeah. I have the ship and everything. I've done, like, almost all of the islands, and then I've gone through... like the introductory mission after you get off of the islands, where you can battle your father, and then I've gone to Athens, and then, like I said, most of the islands. Because now it's at the point where almost every single area on the map is just my level.
Right.
Because it's like I'm almost maxed out. The love capsule was 50, so for the base game at least, it's 99 now. But
right. In Assassin's Creed 4, I absolutely love the ship combat. In fact, I'm playing the remaster on Switch.
I'm less interested in Odyssey for some reason, even though that's 4 is one of my favorites, and it's because of the ship combat.
It's because the ship combat doesn't really have a place in Odyssey. Like, there's not really any point to it. Whereas with like, you're just kind of handed a ship, like, hey, here you go, and
you are, because it's like that one captain's like helping you out, and pretty much just gives you a ship.
Yeah, he gives you a ship, and the ship's not really important. You know, it's really not important. Where, like, in Origins, you had the ship stuff. It was kind of like a sideshow to the rest of the series. Where in this game, it was the focus, but you don't need it. Whereas with 4, the ship is your world.
It is, yeah. And I think to the... And maybe that's kind of what I was stabbing at with, like, the size of the world. Like, it's just... There's so much more to do on land and so much more landmass, just period, in Odyssey than there was 4, that I end up usually just fast traveling. Like, I could fast travel to something close by and just walk there, or take a horse there, or whatever.
What about the explorer? What's it, exploration mode?
Oh yeah,
where it's like, oh hey, so you can't just go to point on map. You can just go to the point on map, or you can do exploration mode. Send your hawk out, find the point on map, then go to the point on map.
Yeah, exploration mode.
It's like, does that add anything to the game?
I don't know. I think that is more.
I did that. Like, that's what I did, because I'm like, oh, maybe I'm missing something.
I think that it was more because of, like, what they added on to Origins, where you could do, like, they were almost like mini docks and stuff, and that was like exploration mode, and there was like the whole separate mode that you could do to learn about Egypt and Egyptian culture and all that stuff. I feel like that was like shoehorned into Odyssey before that, like, whether it's a free patch or not, was added on.
And that goes to probably my biggest issue with Odyssey is it's a series of things that were just shoehorned in from previous games.
The ship stuff, I definitely agree with that. It's like, it's almost directly pulled from the pages of 4, but it doesn't really...
Right.
Like, it wouldn't bother me if it wasn't in it, like Origins, you know, or if it was conducted the same way. where it was like you just had separate missions where you were on a boat or a ship.
Right. And that's...
I like that it's there though. That's the thing. Like, it's like I do like that it's there. Whether
And I'm indifferent about it. Like the ship part,
because I still like doing the ship battles and stuff. It just hasn't gripped me as much as it did with 4. But I can't tell if it's just like it's been so long since we've had that from 4 and Rogue that it's like it's lost its luster for me maybe. But I haven't gone back and played 4 like you have.
Yeah, I went back and like I was thinking that maybe I had just lost interest in the Assassin's Creed games, including the ship battles. Like, it's probably my favorite part of Odyssey.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately...
you think it's so better conducted in 4?
Oh, definitely.
Odyssey, yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of like, this is probably my favorite pile of garbage. My favorite part of this pile of garbage, but it's still garbage.
Yeah, still not as good as
Odyssey is necessarily garbage. It's just something I don't like.
Yeah, no.
And it's more like a pickle.
It's like this is an opinionated podcast as it is. That's why I thought it would be a good episode because I like so much about Odyssey and the fact that it did cobble together like all, in my opinion, the best features of almost all of them and then put it in one. Like I'm like, this is great. And that's why it's not my favorite of all of them. I still love that too. So for me, Brotherhood is my favorite still.
And for me, I think they took the best qualities of the other Assassin's Creed games and just did not implement them very well in its own games.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about it. That's why I feel, like I said, it's just a bunch of things that were shoehorned in there. It's like you have elements of greatness here.
Yeah.
And then there's this big disconnect when doing the ship stuff and going to the regular exploration or
I honestly think it's like too big. Like, and I thought Origins was too big. Like, especially as a trophy hunter, even like going back through and doing like in Origins, like you gave me a copy because I didn't have mine anymore. And I was like a trophy away from a platinum for that. And like listeners know I'm a fucking trophy hunter, so it's like I'm going for that platinum. And it's Assassin's Creed, one of my favorite franchises. I realized why I hadn't done that one trophy. It was because you had to go to every single location on the map and do everything there. At each one, and I was like, "Oh my god, this map is so big."
Yeah,
like that. It's just one trophy is so time consuming. Like, even though I love this world, I find it beautiful. I think it's really cool.
I did really like the chariot races, by the way.
Chariot races were cool.
I spent that chariot races in Origins was like the ship battles for me in 4.
Yeah, I like the chariot races.
I spent so much time on that.
I really like the bounty system and stuff that they started doing. I thought that was awesome.
And that was another thing I thought was kind of shoot in with Odyssey was the mercenary system on there. They tried to kind of add this like nemesis system from
Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of War.
Yeah, and I just that was another thing I felt was very poorly implemented.
That's also because I really liked it. Like I thought it was awesome.
I was just like these mercenaries don't have the personality that the orcs did in
the nemesis system though is top notch. That was innovative. I wish that was in more games, just period.
I do too. Games. And to be perfectly honest, I appreciate them putting it in Odyssey.
Yeah,
I just wish they would have put more work into it.
Yeah, I wish they had almost directly lifted where you could like manipulate, even if it was like fit into the kind of the mercenary tone where it's like you're like bribing or extorting mercenaries to gain their allegiance, kind of a thing.
And that would have been great given the the war concept of the game.
Oh yeah, because it's like that is something that bothers me in Odyssey. By the way, is your character, whether you're Alexios or Cassandra, could easily just flip, like because you are Spartan.
Yeah,
but it's like, and the game does give you choice or leeway in some way. It's pseudo choice, but it makes it seem like you're going to, based on your actions, even if they're muddled, be more allegiant to either the Athenians or the Spartans in this conflict. And it's the Peloponnesian Wars.
Right.
And I've noticed is that you could literally, for each area, which always has a conquest battle for Spartans and Athenians, pick whichever one. And I always just pick the hardest one, and it's not always one side.
Right.
And so I end up just flipping back and forth, and like none of the NPCs that are distinctly one or the other, or if you run into another, Spartan commander in another region and you've consistently sided with the Athenians, they don't say anything. It's as if they don't know anything. But bounty hunters from across the world know exactly who you are and where you are.
Right.
And it's like, so there's some kind of knowledge or information passing, at least in a game sense, but it's not worked into the conquest battles at all, and so it has no consequence.
I can actually see that in a warlike setting, in the conquest battles.
Yeah.
When you're fighting, you don't care who you're fighting against. Typically, at least back in those days, it's just you are on that side, we're gonna kill you. I don't care if you are my brother. I don't care if you're my dad. I don't care if you're my wife's sister's.
It just pulls me out of it a little bit, just because we've had political games with political RPGs like Final Fantasy 12 we talked about earlier. Like, if you suddenly flip sides, like, the other side would know and be pissed off. Like, that would be a bait and switch, even in a strict narrative. And it's like, and a game that offers you choices, and that's what I said. It's like under the guise of consequence. There really is no consequence,
right? And that's like, again, it really failed to make me care.
Yeah, because we talked earlier about this before we started recording this podcast, like within the last week or two via text, and when we were talking specifically about like, because I'm assuming you played it as Alexios, like I did. So like Alexios
I'm
is the protagonist.
Yeah,
I was just like, Alexios, okay, and it obviously then puts the one you didn't pick as like the villain. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it's up as the villain or pseudo villain. In the storyline, at least in the beginning, or like halfway through the game. But I do agree that it's like, it does make that character bland. Mm-hmm. Like, but I do find myself like more invested in the side characters and like the people around them, because that obviously is like scripted for whoever you pick. But I find them like excellently like written and like mocap, and there's like really funny moments, like very definitely like Greek culture, but it's like, Socrates has a friend who's also a philosopher, and it's like, you could choose whether to like sleep with him or have an orgy, like, or you could choose not to, and then he makes you do all these like ridiculous, silly quests, like for many, many hours, and then you get to the end of it, and it was like, oh no, I was manipulating all these events around you so that I could be married to this person. You're like, well, we slept together like 3 times. Like, because every time I had a chance, I was like, I don't sleep with this dude. Like, screw it.
There you go.
And then Socrates would pop up in the middle and give you like these little philosophical puzzles and stuff. And then it was like, what's right or wrong? And then you can decide how you finish that quest based on how you feel from a more, Socratic viewpoint or not. I was like, those depth moments like stand out to me like quite a bit, more so than other Assassin's Creed. But
and see,
that was only parsed out with us talking. I do agree the characters are bland, and I think that's because it's hidden under the guise of choice.
And see, actually the main characters being bland actually made me care about the side characters less. Although they were cool and well written, a lot of, like, say, Assassin's Creed 2 with Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah,
a lot of what made the characters interesting is how they interact with each other, and if they're interacting. Like, it almost felt like these really cool characters were interacting with a brick wall.
Yeah,
and that just made the whole interaction just bland.
Yeah, well, and I think with like Assassin's Creed 2, or the one with Leonardo da Vinci, I always thought it was weird that it was like Ezio usually just went by himself and conversed to Leonardo. There was never anybody else, and it was like that for all of them. It was like, just him went. It was like, it didn't make them feel like they were all interconnected or knew each other or were part of a broader like picture or scope.
Well, that's because Da Vinci wasn't.
No, I just meant, okay, maybe that's a poor example, but a lot of the like side characters were like that. It was always just, I agree, the interactions between Ezio or whomever were great. Like, and it was because of that back and forth or that repertoire that you get to see built up through time or throughout the story. And that, it is, they are talking to a brick wall. It's very much a blank slate.
Right.
But the conversations usually in Odyssey, I find to be, there's usually multiple people there. It's not just a one-on-one with Socrates. Well, there's usually 3 other people there. And it's like, I find it more interesting as the conversation that they're having amongst each other and learning more about maybe like the political, climate, or like, that was amazing. Or turmoil. Cat just fell out of his cat hammock.
Well, with Assassin's Creed 2, at first it was very much like that one-on-one. And essentially, he's going through his training as an assassin. He's going through tiers and tiers of training. And but later on, there was more than one. Like you have his uncle with Machiavelli, and you would have the only one that he really always, for sure, interacted one-on-one with was Da Vinci.
Yeah,
everyone else, was
Da Vinci was a standout character.
He was.
I feel like
he was written that way, of course.
Machiavelli and even like Ezio's uncle and stuff were a little flat for my liking.
And see, I like.
So it's like Ezio kind of drove more of that side of the conversation. I find that it's just the other way with Odyssey, and so it bothers me less. Like, I feel it's like the trade-off. I mean, there shouldn't be, really, is what it comes down to, but that the NPCs and some of the quest givers and stuff and some of those characters like uplift the characterization for me, just overall. Not necessarily with Alexios or Cassandra, whoever you pick, but which is disappointing. I would like Alexios is probably one of my least favorite protagonists, but Odyssey itself is one of my most favorite Assassin's Creed, which is interesting because usually the protagonist drives my liking of the game.
I will say this: I think I like Alexios better than Arno.
Yeah,
Arno just annoyed the crap out of me.
And like I pointed out earlier, I don't remember him. I don't think that's a good sign. No. Like if it's so forgettable for me, I just don't think.
It did have a very Unity. I just call it Unity. I don't think they actually call it Assassin's Creed 5 Unity.
It was just Unity. Yeah,
but
using subtitles.
But that one, they had a very cliche Romeo and Juliet storyline, which was actually kind of interesting because aside from Rogue, it's the first time that really the Templars really aren't so bad because Arno's childhood love was a Templar, assassin.
I do remember that. Now you bring
that up. And that was kind of cool, and it was,
which is so weird too, by the way, because it is very Romeo and Juliet, but to put that into a Parisian themed Assassin's Creed, it wouldn't have fit in Syndicate, obviously, but it's like. Like, why not? Like, tie, especially since Assassin's Creed actually does fairly well, like, tie culturally to usually, like, the plot or the location, which can be viewed as another character unto itself, especially with Assassin's Creed. Like, locales are very important for the fans. Like, I will work that in a little bit more.
I will say this, Assassin's Creed 2, and the trilogy with Assassin's Creed 2 did a lot better with linking historical figures to Ezio than any other game after it.
Yeah.
Like Leonardo da Vinci, they had a friendship that built up over time and then obviously continued on into the other games. Whereas with Unity and Syndicate and even Odyssey, I don't really remember Origins, what historical characters you really run into in there.
It was like Cleopatra. And I talked about like Mark Antony.
I will execute anyone who... you can sleep with me, but I can execute you after.
Yeah, you can go to like the Tomb of Alexandria, or Alexander in Alexandria, and you find where he's actually buried as a side thing.
But yeah, with all the other games, it's pretty much you're not necessarily instantly best friends with them, but they instantly trust you with whatever it is they want to do, like 100%.
I was actually just gonna say that because in Origins, that's how it's done. I felt that Cleopatra was rather like flat and just kind of like, oh, this is of the time, so Cleopatra needs to be here, and it's like, and all of a sudden they are just wrapped up into her politics and the world's politics and stuff, and she's very much like they try to accurately represent like the historical depictions we have of Cleopatra, but in the same breath, she goes very much against that and just. Like, the allure of mystery is just, like, gone all of a sudden. And it's like, I trust you. I like you. Even though I'm maybe not say as such, but I'm going to go have you do something, like, that's most important for me. And that's, it really quite makes sense and actually goes against your character for, at least for what we know of you,
Right.
It seems odd.
And they did that in Syndicate with Belle and...
I like how they handled Jack the Ripper, though.
Yeah, I actually never played that DLC, and I should have.
And
But yeah, that was...
They handled Jack the Ripper really creatively, and they fit well historically, as well as with... Like, even timeline-wise, actually, because the DLC takes decades after Syndicate. And then how it fits into Assassin's Creed lore.
Right.
Which is really cool. And you get to play as Jack the Ripper, like, during certain sequences. And it's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very visceral, but it's amazing.
Assassin's Creed 3 handled it all right. I mean, he was never like great friends with.
There's a lot of historical figures in that one.
Yeah. But it was still very weird how George Washington still just trusted him with everything.
Yeah.
Despite, the conquered origins.
Yeah. I was looking up something about Assassin's Creed just in general, like the franchise, and I came across like an old like forum like thread, and they were not from the United States. It was like an international kind of like posting, and they were from like all over Europe, I think primarily, and they were discussing Assassin's Creed 3 in particular. And there was one gal that was incredibly angry that there was an Assassin's Creed that existed at all about revolutionary times here in the United States, and they were like, I feel like they just feel like we're overusing this word a little bit, but shoehorning in American historical figures that nobody in the rest of the world knows. And then there was somebody else who also was an American who like chimed in right after that, and they're like, but like you could say the same thing about Americans playing Assassin's Creed Unity, like, and it was like it doesn't really make sense. They're historical. Like some of them you're gonna know, some of them you're just not, depending on your education or what history classes you had or what you dived into personally. Like it's just gonna be like that for everybody. Like.
If you really want to get into it, Canadian studio making the games, what are they doing making a game?
Well, yeah, they're French and Canadian. Yeah, it's usually Ubisoft Montreal, but then it's like Ubisoft's in France.
Right.
Like they, covered the Revolutionary War here in the United States, but it's like they didn't really pick anybody obscure either.
George Washington.
Yeah, it was George Washington, the United States' first president, and Revolutionary General.
Right.
Ben Franklin, who was also an ambassador to France,
right?
And was very global of the time, considering we were founded on isolationist principles. And then we had that was what the gal complained about. She's like, I thought Sam Adams was just a beer, which is kind of like a double whammy because it's like, well, that's made here anyways, so of the beer, but not the historical figure, and it's like the game explains that anyways, even if that's like a more obscure historical figure from the United States that you wouldn't know about. Like it's got a revolutionary figure on the beer. Like I don't know, it just seemed really weird because I feel like the argument she made you could make to any of the other Assassin's Creed if you were born outside of that country.
The argument she made was dumb. She just doesn't know her history. That's all it is.
And I actually created an account and logged in and said just that. I was like, it just sounds like you don't know world history very well.
Right.
I was like, because I was completely if they made an Assassin's Creed that focused on Charles de Gaulle, I know who Charles de Gaulle is, and I'm not French. I mean, it's just you know certain global or Machiavelli even or Leonardo da Vinci. It's we're not Italian, but we know who these people are. It's we're not Greek. We know, yeah, exactly. We know who. Leonidas, and there's so many historical figures from all of the other games where it's you know of them. It's just your knowledge of world history or not.
I'm trying to think of a historical figure that I would consider obscure.
Yeah, I mean, because by definition, historical figure, obviously they did something monumental in history, so therefore it is studied or should be fair knowledge, fair game. It blew my mind because I was looking at something completely unrelated to that, read through this feed, and I was like, and I ended up creating an account, logging in, and saying that, it was years after the fact. It was just I had to. Right. And I said that, I was like, it just seems like you don't know very much about world history.
Now, if they got the history drastically wrong, I don't know, involving Cleopatra in the American Revolution.
Yeah, something ridiculous, Oh, I didn't know that. And that's what that gal would respond with.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know Cleopatra was alive during the American Revolution and visited the Americas. That's amazing. And it's oh, no, you're just dumb.
Yeah.
And it's there's really no other, excuse for it. And it was the American Revolution, whether you like Americans or not, it was very, world defining. So,
yeah.
I mean, bucked British colonialism.
Yeah, but then they came back and burned down our White House anyway.
Yeah, it's true. It didn't need to be in there. We'll just build it on a swamp. That's a better idea.
I just think of Rick and Morty when Rick is fighting the president.
Yeah.
And what was he saying that the United States isn't going to bend a knee to foreign powers? Like, oh, have you told China that?
Yeah.
It's like China doesn't piss all over the White House. Like, why would they? I'm sure it was expensive.
That show's too witty for its own good.
Right.
And it's very relevant.
I love that show. However, I've been backing away from the show because I don't like the fan base.
Yeah,
I swear to God, if I hear another thing about Pickle Rick,
it's so
or
fervent.
hear someone scream Pickle Rick,
yeah,
I'm gonna shove this Pringles tube like down there. I don't know, choose an orifice.
Yeah, it's so like rabid. Because I really enjoy that show. I like it, and it's like overnight, and I feel like, as again super tangential, but I feel like a lot of people who are really big fans of it like only appreciate like the vulgarity of it and really don't understand like actually the witticisms behind a lot of jokes. And that's
Pickle Rick's a perfect example of that.
That makes me really sad. Like that part I don't like, which is a lot of people. It's just like it's like no, don't make loud obnoxious noises. Like, hey, what did he say? What are the words that Rick used? And how does that pertain to maybe global politics? Like,
well, you know,
something there.
At the same time, maybe I shouldn't, rag on people for liking a thing for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They just like stupidity, fine, whatever.
I agree. It is rabid though.
Yeah, I just pull back. Like, I'm not sure if I even just want to deal with this show.
Yeah.
Despite how much I enjoy it.
Well, it's funny because I react that way to a lot of things too. Where it's like if something like that I have not like partook in, whether I was interested in it or not, and then all of a sudden it seems like it's a zeitgeist overnight, and everyone is rabid about it. Like Game of Thrones, I can think of as like a good example. Like watched it, I liked it, thought it was good, like first season, and then it was like from then on it was like just and it's all you ever heard about. It's all everybody ever talked about when it was in season, and it was just everywhere all the time. And I found myself just like, I don't fucking care. I just don't like. And it was like those people were like celebrating a pop culture love of theirs, or a book series that they loved, or a TV series they really like. Nothing wrong with that at all. For me, it was just like, I just want it to go away. I'm tired of hearing about it so much all the time.
And see, with that, I didn't feel that way about Game of Thrones until the final season came out, and people were complaining about how it ended.
Yes, for me, I just thought it was hilarious because it's like I had just stopped watching it and abstained. And for me, I was like, I'm going to wait till it's all done, and I'm going to binge watch it, and then call it a day.
And for me, it made perfect sense, and that pissed everyone off.
Yeah, and for everybody losing their minds about it, it was like, yeah, you've been going rabid over this shit for fucking 8 years, and then you were let down. Like, and it was like, the small part of it was like, I feel vindicated, but that's just me being petty. Like, it was unnecessary.
I'm sorry that your dragon lady I'm sorry that she snapped. Put it that way. I'm sorry that she freaking snapped. Made sense.
Yeah, it did make sense.
It was, she lost, well, we don't even need to get into it.
No.
You're sick of it. I am just
I'm fine with it now because it's just gone.
Right.
I don't have to worry about it.
I'm just going to get heated about it. I'm just going to be like, you guys need to shut the fuck up. It made sense. Yeah, I'm sorry. It
wasn't exactly what you wanted. I'm tired of that, actually. Yeah. Like how big cancel culture's gotten, where if it's, especially with fandoms of anything really, where it's like if a particular movie or TV show or like maybe book series or video game even, like you don't like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but I have a feeling you would be like, this game should never exist. It needs to fucking go away. Like everyone needs to stop caring about it, like, or liking it. Like you don't care. You have your personal opinion and beliefs about it. Other people enjoy it. Other people enjoy it, kind of a thing. That's how I feel about like Game of Thrones and stuff too. But there's so many fandoms where they're like, we need to rewrite the finale to Game of Thrones and reshoot it and put that on there, and that's going to be canon. Or like, this Star Wars movie sucked. It needs to be erased from canon. We need to redo it. And there's like petitions and stuff, and it's like,
I mean, people have that. People have those for Star Wars. So.
I know, and it's like, no, it exists. It's done. This is whatever artist's vision at the time that this came out. Like, just move on.
I mean, it's
Star Wars.
I personally haven't really liked the new movies, or I haven't even liked the prequels all that much. Aside from the first prequel, I enjoyed.
I actually watched those again. They hold up way better than I thought, in my opinion. I remember like being amped about them. I remember liking Revenge of the Sith, like, and how that tied in and everything. I was like, okay, cool. But otherwise, I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't know, like Phantom Menace, like Attack of the Clones, whatever. And then I watched them again and had them on, and I was like, oh shit, maybe that's pretty good. Like, they're not bad. They're not as good as the originals, but they're not as bad as everybody says they are.
Well, you know what? Your opinion sucks. You suck.
We need to redo the prequel trilogy. I'm gonna start a petition.
You know what? Darth Vader was always an adult. He was never a kid.
Yeah.
Never once.
And
He was midichlorians. Man, they're just everywhere. They're inside you. They're inside me.
They're exchanging right now. We're having force sex.
There's a robot chicken skit where it's that scene in Star Wars. Darth Vader's and Luke Skywalker going to Luke Skywalker like, "I am your father." It's like, no, that's impossible. And Leia is your sister. No, that's improbable. And the Empire will be defeated by Ewoks. No, that's highly unlikely. And then the next scene, Luke Skywalker's smoking, and Darth Vader's got a coffee, and he's like, and the Force, well, that's just this thing in our blood called midichlorians.
Oh, God.
So Skywalker just tosses a cigarette, like, you know what? If you're not going to take this seriously, I'm out.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, yep, that's how I felt about it, too.
Yeah. Well, it's like the last Star Wars. I hated it. I don't like it. It's like, everyone gets all like pissy about it.
Which one?
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. I actually haven't seen Last Jedi. Force Awakens I thought was okay.
Yeah, it was fanfare.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
It was
amazing.
bridging fanfare. It was a New Hope too.
Essentially.
Yeah.
The trailers made it look like it was episode 1, but
yeah,
but
they were definitely cut very 90s trailers down.
Rogue One I wasn't particularly a fan of, but
the side ones I've liked. I really liked Rogue One and Han Solo.
I didn't like Han Solo. I didn't like that one at all. I was very, and part of it was I just don't care.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But
I dug it. The Darth Maul reveal was totally worth it.
I was okay with that.
I was down with that. What's not Darth Maul?
But in all fairness, I don't care about Darth Vader as a kid, but I enjoyed episode 1.
Yeah, there's quite a few seasons in the movie I really liked.
I don't care where the things I like come from.
I totally do. I love backstories and learn about it. We were talking about that. I was inquiring about the deep research station in Final Fantasy VIII. Oh, it's such a small part of that game, but I was like, I want more.
Right.
And the Omega weapon and Ultima weapon and stuff.
Well, I mean, how much time do we spend just looking up dumb little shit?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a total, trivia, kind of, I remember the stupidest shit, and I'm always looking up stuff about things that I'm into at the time to read, the creator's intention of this, or here's some obscure article, the pain about that, and it's and then I just, filter, or not filter, but, file that information away for who knows when and why, but it's just stuck in there forever, and it was
I do have to say, sometimes I just don't care about, well, I guess not care about the wrong word, but I sometimes think that names of things or story and things just weren't well thought out. Almost feel like the first idea popped out of someone's mouth. Like, we're gonna go with that. Let's move on.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy VII, weapon.
Yeah.
It's I know there's Omega weapon.
Ruby and stuff. Yeah.
But the game is called Weapon.
Yeah, and it just carries forward.
It's like that. That's it. That's the most creative thing you come up with.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
They're flying beasts that can wreck things. I mean, they're not a gun.
Well, and you might know what it is off the top of your head, but as a kid, I always thought, and which at the time really necessarily wasn't it was simultaneously appropriate but inappropriate, especially as a kid. But I always thought the hardest boss in Final Fantasy IX was Osama, which is not it at all. I just remember it was something I could not pronounce, and it was close, so it was that's Osama.
That's not.
I can't remember what that boss's name was, but it was that was well before all of that, so it was it wasn't as if it was really a big deal, but
no, at that time he had all of our guns.
But yeah, he was alive and doing terrorism.
He was doing terrorism against other people.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that was one where it was at least he had a name though. The hardest boss in 9. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just weapon.
Yeah.
It was in 8 and 7.
Yeah, but at least 8 they were
Ozma. It was just Ozma or Ozma.
You got it wrong.
It was close. Oh, I knew it was wrong.
It's just because you're racist. No big deal.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that I thought that, and I remember like playing that as a kid and stuff, and like going and doing everything in Final Fantasy IX and doing the most difficult boss. But at least that one, like I said, wasn't just weapon.
Right.
It's so weird. Yeah, there's some games with like long range franchises like that.
There's
Just pulling me that I had.
Well, they slip up in lots of areas, including long-running games.
Well, especially when you're going back to older games. It's like at first one there wasn't like money behind it. So they're talking about like localizations and stuff, which were like really just starting. Like localization teams, I should say, and like funding for that, and like making sure that it released relatively quickly between like Japan and Western.
Oh yeah, there can be very weird
writers weren't a big thing in the video game industry until recently.
Right. Which is like talking about bad writing and bad translation. I love the Fire Emblem series.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. I love the new one, Three Houses.
I'm really glad it. I think it won the most awards for the video game awards. And I was very happy that it did, because it's like, I thought that was one that was going to get snubbed, but it's like bullshit.
Right.
It's like, but 2019 has, in my opinion, been a shitty year for gaming. Mm-hmm. Like, it just hasn't been great. Well, and that's one of the best games of this year. And I was like, why are we talking about it more? I don't understand why.
As much as I love Fire Emblem, the fact that it's one of the best games of the year does actually say how bad this year has been for gaming. It's been kind of a niche game.
Oh, it absolutely
is. I don't think it necessarily did anything to bring itself to the mainstream with the But
I just think comparatively, it's like you look at what's on the slate for 2020, and then you look at what 2018 was. You get like 2019 in the middle of those three, and it's like it's been a rough year. Like as far as like high quality releases and the frequency of them, like there just hasn't been. I'm not saying like every month needs to be peppered with 2 or 3 AAA games. That's not what I'm saying by any means, but you're not getting your Horizon Zero Dawn God Awards and stuff. It's like Midday's gone.
You mean you don't like UPS Simulator?
Yeah. That's what I mean. This year was kind of filled with stuff like that. It just was. Like, everybody was super excited for the Outer Worlds, and it was like, and I was too, and I played it, and it was like, oh my god, that's cool. I really like how they reskinned New Vegas. Like, this is amazing. But it's 2019. I mean, it's like, I want more. I want like innovation.
Like Shenmue 3?
Yeah, that's super niche.
Oh, that is super niche. It's even more niche now.
I know. He's ripping ornaments off my tree. Yeah, that's a really niche one. But also probably one of the most anticipated releases of this year, which is indicative of 2019.
I mean, I've been waiting for it since Shenmue 2, and that was, the original Xbox.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, and I still need to play it. I've seen reviews for it, and there people are like, the people who say they like Shenmue, they're lying.
I see how I saw that.
And I'm like, oh no, I just played through Shenmue 1 and 2, and I'm like, I want to play 3.
Well, okay. It works.
Yeah.
I saw that too, and I was like, because I haven't played Shenmue, but that's one that's on a bucket list gaming-wise for me. And every time I've looked back into it, like, over the years, and like, it's like, that looks something I would play, and that I would enjoy and like to play. And so it's like, it's cool that there's another one, like, coming out kind of thing. There's like a little bit of like timelessness kind of a thing.
It was supposed to be like a 9-part series.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah. And yeah, so for somebody to be like, nobody really likes it, or nobody's ever played it, and it's like, yeah, fuck off. Like, I know people who have played it and enjoy it, and I know a ton of people who, whether they haven't played it, would really enjoy a game like that. So.
I will say this, the voice acting for 1 and 2, which I heard is the same for 3, is pretty bad.
Yeah.
I would be perfectly okay with not having the voice acting at all.
I love watching the voice acting in Final Fantasy X, because I didn't remember that, because it was so innovative at the time. You gloss over it. But all of it's like that. It's like birds, like, waiting for their mom, and then they speak. Words come out. Yeah. And I'm like, this is so great. Like, it's funny now.
At least it's not dilly-dally, shilly-shally.
Oh, God.
I hate myself for saying that.
Just all you with the gunshot. Okay, well, this is the end of the podcast.
God.
Oh, did you hear that they're doing another Bioshock?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It doesn't have...
Ken Levine's.
Yeah.
No. But he has his own studio.
But it still has plenty of other people that were part of the original Bioshock.
It
team working on
does.
it, so it's,
because
I know that was a huge deal that he left, but it was like, well, there's plenty of people still there.
Yeah, of the original Bioshock trilogy, 1 and 3, Ken Levine did. He didn't do the second one. I think 2K Marin did that. But those are my favorites of that trilogy.
That's
But
most people's.
I'm less concerned about Ken Levine being there now as well, just because I feel there's enough groundwork laid down that it's like you can go a lot of different ways the way that story was created, but I don't think he necessarily has to be there. There's enough lore and background story, for both Columbia and Rapture. If they want to go somewhere else.
If Marvel can do it with their comic books, I'm sure people can do it with video games.
Yeah, and like you pointed out, Irrational Studios folded after Infinite anyways, and then it was shrunk down to a ridiculously small team, which Ken Levine has headed since Infinite, which came out in 2012. Not a single game has come out of there.
Right.
Ghost Story games. And, a lot of Bioshock devs from the old Irrational team now working for that new studio who's doing the new Bioshock. So I'm excited to have more Bioshock. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I mean,
it'll definitely be the litmus test.
I keep an open mind with games right now, but I have to say that even with that thought, there's a lot of games is kind of disappointing.
Yeah,
that's where I've expected more. Even Jedi Fallen Order, like I said, I really like the game, but I wonder if I like it because it's actually really good, really well written, or if I really like it because everything else has been crap.
Yeah, and that's a good lens to kind of see it through, because I think I might be suffering through like the same kind of thing, because I'm not sure if say Days Gone had come out alongside like in the same year at least, maybe one at the beginning, one at the end, it's like Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War, or even back in the Last of Us or something. I'm not sure if I would like it as much. But for me, it was my game of the year. I loved it. I thought it was great. But I think that bar has been lowered. So like comparatively, I just didn't really have anything else that I thought was even close to Days Gone, because there just wasn't really this year. There's only a few games I can think of that I was like, man, that were new this year at least, that I was like, I love this. Like, this is awesome.
I feel like that should be a advertisement tagline for whatever company will say Sony.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a Microsoft fanboy. But it's like, Sony,
represented.
We've lowered the bar.
But it's like, I don't know, there just really wasn't a lot this year. There just really wasn't, especially in the AAA front. It was kind of like, eh. I can think of Death Stranding, which looks cool. I haven't played, but looks like an art piece. It was quickly produced.
It's like that's a game that I would definitely enjoy.
Me too.
I understand that all it is delivering packages and pissing on things, but
it looks like fun to me. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that would be a fun one to play. I don't think it's comparative, at least from what I've seen, to some of these other great exclusives that come out of your face.
I think that's one of those games, because of its mixed reviews that it has. Like, it's definitely split in the middle. You tend to have people who overhype it and people who just want to hate on something.
Yeah, well, and one of the last rage quits that Ariel and I recorded, I went on a rant about like gaming journalism, and that kind of, in my opinion, there should be a holistic nature to review. Obviously, it's a subjective art form unto itself, but like holistically meaning that there should be like at least a paradigm for at least big media outlets to like a rubric to follow,
right? So
that their scores, plus or minus an error, margin of error, are homogenized. No matter who reviews it. So like IGN's like a good example because they're so global now.
I wish I could just blame journalists for that, but I honestly think even the fans are like that.
No, fans are, and people are like that, yeah.
Like when the first Division came out, I would see review after review on Steam, like people being like, oh, this is the worst game ever, never buy this game. Like, I can't believe I ever wasted money on this. And I'm like, you played over 800 hours of the game.
Yeah, there's no way that you can absolutely hate it and sink 800. You would kill yourself.
Why would you? Yeah, why would you spend 800 hours playing what you say is the worst game ever?
Yeah, and fans are like that, and players and users can often be like that. That rage quit particular topic was centered on journalism reviews, And that
By the
was
way, I didn't really care for the division.
I didn't. I never played the first division, and I played beat the campaign too. I played the division 2 with friends that I met just playing the division, and
Well,
I had fun with that.
Well, and that's another thing.
But
too,
I also
is
don't play online games or have those types of experiences very often, so I can say that I am biased towards that experience because I had a different interaction with gamers and a game than I have in the last 20 years. You know.
Well, I was gonna say, like, part of the reason I probably didn't care for that game is I didn't have the friend base to play that game.
Well, and I just randomly and accidentally did. So I tried the free weekend after E3, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I was like, "I'm actually fairly decent at this." And then I met people who were doing the same thing, and then we all bought the game. And after that free weekend, and it was like a team of 4, which is what you need, and we played through the whole thing together. And that was the only game we played through together, and I don't know these people. I just met them during the free weekend, and it was like a flash in the pan, almost coincidental type thing. So I had a different experience than I normally do gaming, because I usually just prefer to play solo games by myself. Or local co-op.
That's kind of how I've been, too. It's like, I just, for one, I'm friend base to play a lot of online games, like Destiny and stuff, for example. I haven't been particularly interested in building up that friend base. I'm sure I could actively make it happen. You know, I'm such a great person.
Still a person.
But yeah, just I that's why games like Fire Emblem would be my game of the year, because I freaking love Fire Emblem. Or Beat Saber. Yeah, I know it made many years.
Yeah. But it's like I'm a Sony fanboy. Their bread and butter, especially nowadays, is single player narratives.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can play by myself. I get a good story, but I'm perfectly content living in that ecosystem and getting what now people are calling the same thing over and over again. I'm fine with that, whether it is or not. I don't care. If this is the style of game I like to play, I like to play by myself. I like to experience it by myself. I like to play at my own pace. I can do the same thing too. There's been times where I've reached out to random people that I either have on my friends list from, I don't know how I met them or why they're on my friends list, or like Twitter where I'm like, hey, I have one online trophy to get for whatever game. Can you help me out? I saw that you have it or that you're actively playing it right now. And they're like, yeah, and I'll play with them for like fucking 15 minutes. And it's like, I use my headset and stuff, get the trophy, and then it's like, thanks, buddy, bye. And then I bounce, like I'm out, like. And more often than not, usually the people I hit up are the same kind of way, where it's just like, oh yeah, they're gonna have to do the same thing when I got that trophy too, so like here, help me out. But it's like once we're done with that, like almost business interaction of just helping each other obtain a trophy, it's just like, yeah, bye.
Like the last multiplayer game I heavily got into was Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, I tried.
Which I enjoyed Monster Hunter, and I think part of it
like Monster Hunter.
Right.
Like, I don't. That's my genre.
No, what you should like is Mega Man, and I hate that you don't like Mega Man.
I know. Everyone hates it about me.
Why do you like Mega Man? All of my little friends don't like Mega Man. Who don't like Mega Man?
Oh. It's not like I hate it. I'm just like, I'm ambivalent about it.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Monster Hunter was the last cool multiplayer game I played, and I did play with random people on that. I'm sure I pissed people off because I'm not super great at it.
Yeah, I'm not great at it either.
But I think one thing I like about that game is you don't need a synopsis for that game. The synopsis is the title.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's everything. What are you doing? Well, we hunt monsters. Oh, okay.
Right? Oh, I mean, like, yeah, I get that, but what else do? You hunt monsters.
You hunt monsters. That's it.
Well, what's the story? It's like, well, see, you're a dude, and you hunt monsters.
Yeah. And in this new one, you were in a place where you hunted monsters. Now you're just going to a new place to hunt monsters. How'd you get there? You followed a big monster. Okay.
A big monster that you're going to be hunting.
Yeah, that's like, oh, okay.
Pretty much what you do is you find the biggest baddie you can, and then
whale it.
Yeah, play whack-a-mole with its face, or you can play Sweet Johnny. I don't know.
Exactly.
Sweet Leg Johnny.
Sweet Leg Johnny. Yeah, that's one where I'm always intrigued by, especially when a new one comes out. Mm-hmm. And then I always buy it, and I play a little bit of it, and I'm like, this doesn't give me at all. Like,
we did play the 3DS one for a little while. And
that one just sort of crazy because 3DS was
yeah, you had the old 3DS with that.
Well, they still have.
Yeah, you have. They do have the expansion that you can put on there, so you have that stick.
That just drove me crazy.
It does help a lot.
But then it's like even playing Monster Hunter World, I'm like, man, like I have it on my PS4 for ages, and I was like, I even had somebing lined up to play with too, that was like co-stream and all that good stuff. Right?
There we go. How dare you? I asked for it.
And at least, but this is just like audio recording.
I will just ruin that beautiful AFK clothing company shirt.
That FGG is sponsored by 2% off your next order.
There'll be a picture of the bloodstain that's forming on that.
It'd be great if they launched new apparel and that's what it is. It's the same bloodstain.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, ASInquisitor did that. And the idea from us.
Special.
Exactly.
You don't shirts, people. Go get them.
But yeah, I don't know. It just never got his teeth into me. Never really played with anybody online. I had somebody lined up to do so. Sometimes, I'd rather play something else. Is always what it came down to.
I can forgive you for that.
I don't know, Chief.
It's the Mega Man. I can't forgive you.
I don't remember the last time I tried to get it. It's been a long time. That was one where I tried to figure out.
You just suck and you're a crappy person.
Yeah, probably. I thought it was going to be Griff Philistine. I haven't heard that one in a long time.
You're Phoenician.
Oh, God. Why was that such a big thing when we were kids?
I don't freaking know. But probably
The 90s were a weird time.
Probably for some racist reason.
Oh.
We were all closet racist, apparently. Some jokes I hear. I will not repeat on here.
Fair enough. Well, it's like we kind of talk about cancel culture and like pop culture, just in general. It's like that's a big thing for that too. Just culture in general, canceling people, or comedy and jokes, and then it's like then it goes too far the other way. Sometimes it's just like, why? How do we get into this perpetual loop? It's awful. But the internet has done just such horrible things to our society. It's such a useful tool. We just never use it as a useful tool.
Who was it that said if I wanted to wow people in the past with technology from the future, just tell them that we have a wealth of infinite information and we use it to look at cat pictures.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would blow anybody's mind.
Right.
You could look at and learn anything.
I don't remember who said that.
I can't remember.
Yeah. It's not me. I mean, I said it right now.
But yeah, you're paraphrasing. You're mimicking.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of things.
Well, I think that about wraps up the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed our discussion of Assassin's Creed and then all of our other ramblings about new games, what we've been playing.
Can you tell which one was the main focus?
Shh. Assassino.
It's right.
I got money in these, so.
You're wrong. Your beard is stupid.
Your beard's weird.
Your beard is weird.
Yeah, it always reminds me of the Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly diss tracks in the day. That's what he said about Eminem. Beard's weird, and then he like third back and really diss track.
Yep.
Beard's weird.
Rap battles.
Yeah, diss tracks are the best. But anyways, you can listen to this podcast on, if you're not already, on YouTube. But if you want other like avenues to listen to it, it's on Castbox, iTunes, and then Google Play as well. So if you have a preferred one that maybe you're not using because you think that FGG is not on it, it is. It's everywhere.
This is the part where we go like and subscribe.
No, I don't really do that for the podcast. We're sponsored. You can like, you can comment. I mean, reviews would help. I guess that would be the biggest thing for a podcast. Mm-hmm. Whatever service you're listening to it on, like if you could do a review. YouTube, I could care less about, to be honest. It's just there for convenience for people. But if you're listening to it on iTunes or Google Play or even Castbox or any other podcast services, reviews do help podcasts. That's really the big thing.
Yeah, you can make fun of my shirt because I do not have a beautiful AFK clothing company shirt.
Not yet. I'll get you one for Christmas.
I expect 12.
Yeah, I want a dozen leading up to Christmas. This is what I require of you. But anyways, if you have any like suggestions or comments or even a different opinion about our like Assassin's Creed discussion, feel free to comment. I do go through everything. or you can send an email to ASInquisitor@gmail.com. So, and then maybe next time we'll go through them. Eventually we will. I have some for Rage Quit and ASInquisitor. I've perused them. We need to actually read them and like comment back because some of them are actually really good. So if you feel inclined, you can definitely do that. Yeah, we'll be back next month. So, peace.
Cool. See ya.
Have a good night.